Hi everyone. I just wanted to take a quick break in this fantastic episode to ask you this. Are you as fed up as I am with all the stress triggers that we're constantly bombarded with every day? From geoengineering, EMFs, fake and toxin-filled food, unstable political leaders that no one trusts have our best interest at heart, global agendas, financial struggles, the list feels endless, doesn't it? But here's the thing, there are solutions. Whatever challenges the so-called powers that be throw at us, nature and we as real humans always have the ability to rise above it and find the answers. I've seen it time and time again, not just in my own life, and trust me, I'm a natural worrier, but also with the many clients I've worked with over the years, both human and animal. That's why I've created something that I'm incredibly excited to share with you, my Mastering Stress and Resetting Your Nervous System online course. This is where I've pulled together all my best tools, techniques and strategies, everything that's made a huge difference for me personally and my clients. And the best part is you get lifelong access so you can revisit whenever you need. You can ask questions as you go through the course. There's an 80-page comprehensive ebook, over 4 hours of videos and audios, discounts on products and consults, and free access to bonus modules with expert guests. And to top it all, you can get the free Teachable app for on-the-go learning so you can incorporate all of this into your already busy routine. The time's right now to take back control of your health, your stress levels, and your life. So let's do this together. Click on the link below this video, join our incredible community, and no matter whatever the world throws to us, we'll thrive. Because the truth is, we are all stronger than we think we are. And when we combine the power of nature with our determination, we're simply unstoppable. So let's make this happen together. The link to join is below. And now back to the podcast. Right, we are back for our lovely coffee chats with my lovely friend Bryce from Esoteric Atlanta. And today we've got quite a few new people on the channel. So Bryce and I have these weekly coffee chats, 1 week on my channel, 1 week on Bryce's channel, Esoteric Atlanta. All the links are below. And what they do is we're not in these chats, we're just discussing things that are really pertinent to us and we think to you, the listeners, because what we want to do is be able to have nice discussions without pretending we know it all and really raise issues, ask questions, get your participation and comments. So today, this is something I'm really, really passionate about. And I know you are, Bryce. We're talking about why we don't want to wait till 2024 until make some changes. So many people wait until their New Year's resolutions, and we're here to sort of try and gee everyone up to say, don't wait. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, but I hate New Year's resolutions. I really don't. Like, I think they're just frankly BS because it puts all this pressure on people and then they die. I love when you text me about this idea of like doing something today, starting now, like changing your life now. And I'm so excited we're talking about this because I personally like, why does it have to be one time a year that you make these declarations to better yourself? And if it's
why would you delay your happiness and health?
exactly
Why?
And if you're striking a deal with yourself to do whatever it is, lose weight, get healthy, whatever it is that why are you striking that deal with yourself under the pressure of a culture or because you really want it? And if you really want it, then why wait?
Mm.
My boyfriend tells a story. There was a pretty big wig spiritual teacher who I believe he had been a student of Yogananda. This teacher's now since passed away. But back when my boyfriend was in his younger days, he had like a little retreat center up in North Georgia.
Sorry, I was just checking. I'd shut the stable door. I just had a panic attack. I have, yeah. Sorry, everyone. If my Shetland gets into the feed room, it does not end well. So I just have to check.
Years ago, we did an episode, Catherine. I don't know if you remember, but Romeo, your horse, was standing looking at the window. It was the funniest. If you guys can go back and see that episode, he was literally just piercing his eyes on Catherine, standing there staring the whole time.
It was just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I've just literally gone 2 feet because sorry to distract everyone, but it's quite funny. My little old Shetland, he's mid-30s now and he hasn't got many teeth left. So I give him several feeds throughout the day so that keeps him going. And if I forget to shut the feed room door for 1 minute, he has got a sixth sense. He's in there and it is chaos. I've got videos. Plus, of course, it's a bit dangerous because he gorges. So
Speaking of, it seems like that should be his New Year's resolution.
exactly, to stop gorging on all the stuff. But yeah, carry on with your story. Sorry for interrupting.
My boyfriend, this is when he was much younger. He was up and he was new. He was just now starting his journey. That's one thing we have in common is that's how we kind of met. We both have been on these journeys of self-discovery, and he had been trying all these things. And he went up to this retreat center in North Georgia to work with this particular teacher who had been a student of Yogananda. And at that point, he kind of got stuck in that trap that I think a lot of people get stuck in when they're new to spirituality, where they think there's particular days like 11/11 or 7/7 when they can do things that are aligned to make things right. And he was talking to this teacher about this, and this teacher kept looking at him and he goes, anytime's a good time. Like you don't have to wait for it. You want to get spiritual, you want to find God now. You do it now. You don't, what are you talking about? Like, why are you, and my boyfriend says that always like hit, like he remembered that, like, it's just about the now. There's no great specific time to start something. Obviously in our soul contracts or whatever, our karma, we do have specific times in which things become available to us. But if you're feeling a draw to do something, then that must be the time is now. It's not a date.
Yeah, I love it. It's like the saying, when's the best time to plant a tree 50 years ago and the second best time to plant a tree today. So yeah. I really love it because when you really look at starting out, there's one thing, if people wait till after the holiday season, you're already starting from a negative point because most people overindulge over the holiday season. Is actually very stressful for a lot of people. So actually you could completely transform your experience of the holiday season for those of you that would like it to be a little bbit better than normal by starting now, because when you get that momentum, once you make a decision and you go all in, I've literally just got off the phone from one of my clients just before we came on today. And she's amazing. She's been on a personal development journey for her and her dog, actually, for the last few years. And she's just doing wonderfully. But she's been really struggling due to stress issues with her work and everything to shift the weight. And she's just started about 6 weeks ago on the weight loss supplement. She's like, this is so amazing because now I'm setting myself up for success. I'm not, because if you wait till you're overindulging, you're not going to have the drive to go to the gym, to change your feeding habits, to get up earlier, whatever it might be for you, because you've already made yourself feel worse by the overindulgence. So getting momentum now is just the perfect way to really set yourself off to succeed.
And it's also you're treating it as a self-punishment. Why, I love, we have a very famous personal trainer here in the United States by the name of Jillian Michaels. She was on The Biggest Loser. I rediscovered her because she's a huge Mr. T supporter, and she's a huge RFK supporter, and she's obviously health and wellness, kind of like us is her industry, but she's a big celebrity here. And of course, she took a lot of backlash from her speaking out, but I've been listening a lot more to her podcast because she has a lot of very interesting people that come on and talk about these things, and hearing her perspective as this personal trainer. And, when we were talking about like seeing things as a punishment, she says, diets, people say diets don't work. Well, they do work. If you restrict your eating, you're going to lose weight. Like that's just basic science, but what happens is they don't work is because you're restricting yourself in a way that's a punishment.
Yeah.
Right. And when you go into that place of negative, of self-flagellation, like just beating yourself down, it's not going to last. The consistency is not going to be there. And that's kind of the same thing. Like when I talk about, like, a lot of people dread exercising, they dread whatever it is because it's uncomfortable. Of course, it's uncomfortable. It's not a pleasant experience for anybody doing a long run. It's as my dad used to say, look at a runner's face. They're never smiling.
Yeah.
It's so, for me in my own journey, shifting that perspective of I get to move my body, and when things get uncomfortable, going in the body in that moment, exploring what's actually happening, where the sensations are coming from, changes the perspective of what you're doing. And so you're not punishing yourself. You're not in this loop of self-deprivation. Oh, I've got to go on a 3-mile run because I can fit into a pair of skinny jeans. There's no, it's a deeper, more personal experience, intimate experience with yourself that turns it into a positive. It's like, I know, Catherine, like you and I both are very, very strict eaters. We follow, but we've been doing this for a very long time, and I say this to people, especially people who want to go vegetarian. Even though I'm a staunch vegetarian, I always tell people don't go cold turkey, no pun intended. Let's first take out red meat because we don't want to put your body in a state of shock and we don't want to put you in a state of shock. But what tends to happen too is when you're slowly evolving, at least for me anyway, when you're slowly evolving your diet and you're finding the foods, the healthy foods, it's like, I don't think we can say the D word, but rugs. It's almost better than taking rugs because you feel so good when you are eating right. The benefits start to outweigh the deprivation, right? Like, and it's not, when you're actually following a healthy diet and you're eating for your body and you're giving your body nutrients, you're not even in a place of deprivation because the cravings do go away.
Completely.
You're not, if you're following I mean, back in, I was born in 1983. I always say all of those. And now you're in the 70s. We came into the world when like jazzercise was big, low fat diets were big. And I remember as a kid, we had these like snack wells. So the Americans in the audience, or do you guys remember those snack wells, devil food cake, chocolate cookies that were like zero fat? They were like diet cookies.
Oh,
I still remember the way they taste because everybody's mama had those in their cabinet because that was the time when they thought low fat was the way, but it was full of just crap chemicals. And I still remember you could hardly like
yeah.
hold a bite. But we've in those diet days, yeah, I mean your body's gonna change if you deprive it of something. But that was a real deprivation, right? But now we're at this time where we understand that there are healthy fats, there are good fats, nuts, avocados, there's these really healthy fats. And when you start to include that into the diet, it does change your cravings where you do feel fulfilled and you don't feel like you're about to pass out because you're eating snack wells, don't sue us.
Completely. And that's why so many people, they go on, and it makes me laugh because I could do a whole series on this. But, oh, I feel so amazing on the carnivore diet. Well, anytime you drastically change your diet, you're going to detox for a start. Your body is going to get a shock to the system. So changes are going to happen. But just because you feel, when we say tuning in to how you feel, you do also need some understanding of what's going on metabolically so that you're not feeling, I mean, you can feel really good by taking drugs, illegal drugs. You can feel really good, some people, by getting drunk. That's not tuning into your body and listening to it. Tuning into your body is sort of that mix between the intuition, the heart space, and the head space, where you understand what are sensible decisions that really could help you. And you're so right. When you then start adding in, when I'm working with people with nutrition, I always start from what we can add in that's good, never from what you're banned from. There's never anything from me that I start that they're banned from. It's always let's add in some good stuff and just watch what happens. It's incredible. And I think this is comes into why not wait for 24, because look, we all deserve to be happy and thriving. In this community, we've got such amazing people that are real, generally speaking, real empaths and really care not just about themselves, but about what's happening to other people, to animals, to the planet. When I talk about the planet, I'm not talking about cow farts. Save the cows.
We love our cow farts.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show in itself. So, but if you're looking to delay happiness, you're setting yourself up to fail. One of my friends that lost one of her horses that she'd had for 30 years. Oh, she's, just the best horse mum ever. And she was speaking to her husband about getting another one. And he said, but why would you wait? Because she was like, is it too soon? And he was like, but why would you wait? This perfect foal has presented itself to you. Why would you wait? And this is the thing, we get so hung up about what's the right thing to do, and because this New Year's resolution is literally just a sales ploy, it's a delaying tactic, because anyone who's followed any spiritual journey knows that if you're not in the right here, right now, in the present moment, as they call it, everything else is an illusion and just stopping you from taking action.
It's an attachment to something that's what I see too a lot with studying the Yoga Sutras about like change and how nature that's the rule of nature, right? It's got a birth, a life, and a death. Thus for it's always in fluctuation and change. And we see that with people. Like if we take something like weight loss, I mean, here in the United States, when January rolls around, you've got commercials for discounts at gyms, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, all these, and people get on the bandwagon and they lose all this weight. But then because they didn't actually cater to what their needs are and what true health is, they obviously fall off the bandwagon and they
Yeah.
gain the weight back and then depression sets in, and so I love this. I love that you don't take things out of people's diets, but add things in, because what happens is, like I was saying, when you actually start to correct your eating, the things you think you crave disappear because your body is
Yeah.
actually getting the nutrients that it absolutely needs. And speaking of cow farts, that's the one thing we were off air talking about, like I'm doing a colon cleanse. I do colon cleanses all the time, especially around the holidays, because for better or for worse, we're all getting foods that aren't necessarily that great. I mean, thank you to RFK. Hopefully that will shift itself. But is some reality space, where we know we're taking in stuff, so things get backed up. And so many people, I think, Catherine, are so out of touch. Like if you're gassy, if you're
Yeah.
someone who's gassy, that's your body talking to you. You shouldn't be like gassy all the time. You're like,
Absolutely.
that should be happening. So your body is telling you something. And so, it's working with someone like Catherine who can help you find what what the nutrients is for your body. Like I'm a Vata. So if I eat raw salads, I'm going to be literally in the bathroom all because my stomach cannot handle it because I'm Vata. So for me, it's rooted vegetables that are cooked that my body really responds to and gives me that. It's interesting. Even the other end of the spectrum, people who don't eat enough.
Mm.
We see that a lot with runners. There's a lot of people who have disordered eating who are runners. Obviously, dancers in the yoga world too. There's a lot of that as well, because we learn that the lighter our bodies are, the more empty our stomachs is, the easier it is to move. And
Yeah.
so that quickly moves into a disorder. And I remember one of my friends saying that once, that a lot in our yoga community, we would be out with people and they would be like, "Oh my God, I've eaten too much," and my friend would be like, I think what they're feeling is actually being grounded with the food because they're
Mm.
so used to not having enough that they deprive themselves. And when they feel like does the food ground you? Does it make you feel like you're in your body? And that's the thing too, right? Because we are energy. We are made up of electrons, which is where we get electricity from. So is food. And so we're feeding
Absolutely.
energy into our system. So why would you, no offense, Snackwells, I'll say in my opinion, why would you eat fake Snackwells, fake sugar, low fat cookies that taste like rubber? Why would your body's your temple. Why not eat an avocado? You know,
Exactly. And if you're
you
worried
know?
about the water for avocados, find an alternative where you are. I love
Right.
that. I'm just getting out one of my red light panels that I use a lot because obviously I'm in the UK, and you picking up that we're all energy is really, really key. So I've only got some of it on. I use this a lot when I'm working because multitasking when you're as busy as us is really, really important.
Yeah.
I put it on my animals as well. So I'm going to put it on Pumpkin as well. Um,
Well,
yeah, so different sort of ones, so many different ones. This is something I've been working with therapeutically for years, folks, for years. Just whilst we're filming, so it doesn't shine everyone's eyes. Pumpkin, my cat, is going to have it because he's
do
lying
you
down.
have a red glow on your face while you're filming, Catherine? The conspiracies that would
Oh,
be
can you
created.
imagine? That's why I thought I just need my little horns up there as well, and then I'll be away. But the reason that's so important is because when you're looking at your body types, there absolutely is not one size fits all. Like I posted something on fasting and it not being appropriate for certain times for certain people, which you and I have got a lot of experience with. But that doesn't mean that overeating isn't good for you either. And so people
Right.
go from, oh, well, fasting's really, really good for me. Well, no, if your adrenals are stressed, if your thyroid are stressed, if you're certain body types, it's not good for you. But that equally doesn't mean I'm saying, well, overeating's good for you. No,
Right.
people like Bryce and I that don't do well with fasting, with our body types and our doshas, then what I do is I just control my portion
Yeah.
sizes. I'm not putting too much pressure on my body from that way. But actually, when you start then working and to clear your energy channels. And the reason I wish I could show you Pumpkin now with the red light. He absolutely loves it. But my desk is so dirty, I daren't. Um, When you then, the reason why red light, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere that aren't getting a lot of sun at this time of year in climates like the UK, the red light activates certain photons on your skins and your eyes that then allow your body to get the energy out of the food that you are getting. So when you start looking into all these links, it's absolutely beautiful and really fascinating. And Bryce and I are going to have some exciting things coming that are going to help you get more involved in these discussions in a way that we can't necessarily do on public platforms. I wanted to ask you, Bryce, about the setting yourself apart aspect of not starting now. And the reason for this is, you're going to be surrounded by people that are putting pressure on you. I'm talking to everyone out there. We all get people, no, just wait, start with me in January. We'll get the sale for the gym in January, etc., etc. Why is it so challenging, do you think, Bryce, for so many people to break the mold and not do what everyone else is doing?
I
Although
love
I
this
would say
question.
our audience are probably the best of the lot at this.
I love this so much. It's because, and I'm going to actually reference a story that Jillian Michaels again told because she's absolutely right. Misery loves company.
Mm.
Misery loves company. And we have so many subconscious emotional ties to things like food, exercise, relationships. And so Jillian Michaels tells this story where when she was working on The Biggest Loser, which is how she got famous, she had this father and son client that came in. They were on the show. They hadn't been eliminated. They had lost a bunch of weight, and the holidays came around, and so they stopped filming. They went home, and the son came back, and he had gained some weight. Well, when they looked at the footage, what she noticed was that the mother, the wife, was still obese. And
Mm.
so there was a manipulation of this is love. If you are dieting, if you have changed your eating habits and your exercise habits, but mom hasn't, then there's an outing of mom's love. And
Yeah.
I think we all know that we tend to use exercise and food or lack thereof as almost like a drug, right? Like as the only difference is you can do without the drug. You can't do without food. Like you have to figure this out. And it's interesting because I think so many people also, the devil, I love that saying, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. And so a lot of people want to change, but they fear the change because they don't know what that change is going to lead to. Even if they know it's going to be a better existence, they don't know that existence. And so they want somebody with them the whole time. Well, the problem is too, is that when you get on the path of weight loss and health, if you're doing it with a friend, you are both going to respond to the programs, even if you're doing two totally different diet programs, depending on your doses, your bodies are going to respond differently.
Mm.
Somebody's going to lose weight faster than the other one. Somebody's, they're especially the smaller you are. We were talking about this off camera, Catherine. So let's say I have 5 pounds that I want to lose because I'm already thin. It's going to take me longer to lose those 5 pounds than someone who's like 20 pounds overweight, right?
Yeah.
There's just some stuff that the way we lose weight is different. Most people tend to lose weight from the head down, but
Mm.
with men and women, it's different. I mean, people laugh all the time that, I have girlfriends who will be like, well, I can just smell popcorn and gain 10 pounds. My husband goes on a mile walk and loses 50 because men
Yeah.
do lose weight faster than women. There's a reason for that. There are. And so I think there's this constant like comparing and you expect things to happen. It is not one size all fits all. Now, it's interesting. I always encourage people when they go on this journey to do it by themselves. Like if you have friends that want to do it too, great, but let them also be on their own journey as well. Because everything that happens to you alone. Right? Like you have to understand, you have to be comfortable in your own skin. Because whether you're going to lose weight for health purposes or whatever, you are going to have emotional baggage that comes up. It doesn't matter if you're spiritual or not, that's just going to happen. And so it's really important for you to understand that this is you doing it yourself. When we were up in the mountains this past week for Thanksgiving, as to why we didn't film, we were doing this trail one day. And there were these girls that were out there with their dog as well. And so we were kind of, because Robbie really wanted to go play, and this dog, I could tell looking at the girls, because I used to trail run, I could tell that they were going to go trail running. My boyfriend didn't understand, but I could tell, I was like, no, they're about to actually, and they were doing it together. And they started off, and we were watching them do this very hard trail run. And my boyfriend and I are walking and talking. And of course, that was my sport in high school. And, I used to do that a lot. And I was like, oh God, I hated running with other people. These two girls are doing it together. I hated that. And he was like, why? Why? It seems like you would want to have the company. I was like, no, for me, it was always very much, I didn't want to have to keep up with the pace of the person that I'm with. I didn't want to feel like I was having to talk to that person where I could really focus on what I was doing. And I think that's very consistent.
Yeah.
People who actually do use these things to change is they take that responsibility on for them. This is something you're doing for you. Yes, you could lose weight to get healthy because you want to be the best mom or you want to be the best dog mom but that's just a side effect of what's really happening is you're taking your life back. And when you do that, you start to feel the benefits and therefore you become the best mom. You become more active. But if you're doing it for something else outside of yourself, then it's never going to work. It's always going to fall
Yeah.
short. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. And I think this is really important. And uh, there's so many of us have, it's a very common for the type of people that we probably attract to join these channels with us, is we spend so much time thinking about other people and what we can do for other people, that now is really the time to really have a deep think about what you do yourself. And habits take time to
Yeah.
form, take time to break, and they take time to form. And so giving yourself a lasting habit, starting now really gives you a head start. You know, in where we are, we're in winter now, so our natural instincts are telling us to sort of hunker down, keep warm, perhaps pile on a few extra pounds to keep us through those months when we haven't got so much immune boosting foods and sunlight, etc., available to us. But actually really sitting there and deciding, what do you want? What is your one thing that you really do want to change? Because I think one of the other things, Bryce, is that people take on too much all at once.
Yeah.
So how important do you think it is for people to really, you've touched on it already, but really think about, why is this important to me?
Well, for you, well, first, I would say I love that you said don't take on too much at once. That's gonna, again, like I said with the vegetarian thing, you don't want to put your body into shock and your mind into shock. You want to be able to, and that is always my advice: is don't jump into the deep end, go through the shallow end, so that that becomes a long lasting. Because you're right, Catherine, it takes a long time for habits to form and habits to break, and especially when we're talking about food, because there is going to be somewhat of a chemical addiction. You are going to be dealing with some sort of like sugar addiction or meat addiction. You are going to feel some withdrawals, and so we want to make sure that you're in the best place to consistently. Well, I say don't cut cold turkey unless you're actually in a rehab center for the harder stuff. And that's it. I'm talking about like just basic food, basic, and understand that there are going to be, the body's going to fluctuate as it starts
Mm.
to, so if you are going vegetarian, my advice is always cut out red meat and pork first and just be with chicken for a while and then go down to being a pescatarian. It doesn't matter how long it takes, you're just weaning yourself off because that's what's going to hold you to it. Now, as far as like, I'm sorry, what was the original question? I just want
About
to.
why habits take time, and why it's really important that you understand before you decide to change a habit, break a habit, introduce a new
Why
one,
you're.
that you understand why you're doing it, because otherwise you can't motivate yourself long term, really.
No. And I think that goes back again to like, again, like, so let's just say that you are somebody, you want to lose like 20 pounds so you can fit into a certain dress. I know that happens to a lot of people. Well, in my opinion, if you do that, you're probably going to be destined to fail because you're going to start depriving yourself. So I would ask that person to sit down with themselves and have a real honest conversation about if you're going to be changing these habits in order to get yourself in a position where you could put that dress on. Why do you want to put that dress on? What
Mm.
is it that you're actually looking for? If you're looking for validation from other people, again, you're going to fail. So what is it within you that sees the body that can fit in this particular dress or these particular jeans? What is it that you're actually looking for?
Mm.
And when you can figure that out, is it vitality? Is it, we were just talking offline, Catherine, like I can always tell when I'm constipated, when I need to do a cleanse, because I can feel it in my face. I can feel it in my mood. I can feel it in the way my body moves. And I know now what that is. So I know now what to do to redirect that energy so that I can go back to feeling like myself, like a vital, full of energy. And I think too, it's also understanding, we were talking about the seasons. Like I have made no qualms about it. I do not like cold weather. I am Southern through and through. If they think there's a chance it might snow, like just might, meaning it hits the ground and melts. The Piggly Wiggly, one of our grocery store chains down here in the South, the Piggly Wiggly sells out of bread and milk, and all the Christians think Jesus is coming back. The apocalypse is coming. It's literally just snow. But with that being said, even though I'm not as conditioned to colder weather as someone like in the UK might be or in the North might be, I actually appreciate when it's colder outside
Yeah.
because my body, I can feel the swelling go down a little bit. I can feel like it's that cryotherapy I used to do and
Mm.
allow my body to actually my joints to experience kind of some relief. So it's looking at things in that perspective. And so in order to change your habits, I would say, what is it? The first thing you need to do is really have a sit down with yourself and figure out why it is that you want to change. What's your why? Why are you motivated to do this? And if it's anything other than yourself, including those clothes, then I would ask you to reevaluate. So what's the deeper meaning? Because if you're looking for acceptance from somebody else, forget about it. You're never
Yeah.
going to get it. It's about you and feeling that we were talking about, Catherine, when people lose weight, they all of a sudden don't feel as tired anymore. They feel like they can move again. What is it if you take 1 pound of weight off your body, it takes 4 pounds of pressure off your knees or something like that?
It's huge, it's massive, and we see this all the time in the horse world. I mean, it's very well known, and yet people will look at it for their horses, but not look at the rider. I was just having a discussion with that with one of my students this morning, and it's so important, and to be able to objectively assess where you've got to. So I know I keep sort of teasing a bit, saying I'm going to be showing a lot more about my Bulgaria retreat coming up, and there's a reason why I can't talk about it now, but it will be very soon, everyone. But what I love about this is sometimes the most satisfying and biggest driver is when you realize you have let yourself go. You know, I think over the last years, we've seen loads of doctors, medical professionals, people speaking out. They've been on such a journey to inform other people and do it that they've sort of lost that self-care for themselves. But it doesn't matter because it gives you a lot more empathy because I guarantee everyone will go through this at some stage of their life. You know, you hear Robert Kennedy Jr. talking about how he had serious addiction problems before, and look at him now in his 70s, where he can still do more push-ups and chin-ups than virtually any young man, and certainly more than I've ever done in my life.
Freaking like
But he still makes time to go to a 12-step recovery process. He still makes time to meditate each day, because sometimes it's only when you fall off the bandwagon that you realize how important your health is, how important your mobility is. You know, I used to be really, really supple. I was a gymnast, and I've lost a lot of that suppleness. And now I'm like really relishing getting it back. It's just so wonderful to sometimes the things are too easy, you don't appreciate them.
Right.
So, whatever your starting point is, you know, there's this pressure cooker, isn't there, Bryce? When people start in January with their New Year's resolutions, the clock's already ticking. 2025 clock is already ticking. But don't put that pressure on yourself. There's a difference between pressure and commitment.
Yeah. It's also, I'm thinking about even like with the exercise, if you, let's just say something very basic that's free that everyone could do, running. And let's say you want to start a running program, you want to do a 5K or a 10K or you want to do a marathon. Well, just start with a walk
Mhm.
and build up. There's this great TikTok I was watching. I've been loving TikTok of this woman who was a little overweight and she decided she wanted to run a 5K, which, for the Americans, it's like 3.2 miles. So that's pretty doable goal for most people. And so she got on her treadmill and she videotaped her over like the course of a month. And first on her treadmill, she was just struggling just to walk for 20 minutes. And then that 20-minute walk, like 2 weeks later, turned into 40 minutes. And then all of a sudden, she decided she was just going to try to run 1 mile. And so she'd run 1 mile and then walk the rest of the time. And then all of a sudden, that 1 mile turned into 2 miles. And you're seeing this transformation over the slides of her TikTok as she is changing and her body is changing. And you also see a look in her eyes start to change where she's taking, and it wasn't that long before she was easily running. So your body is going to, the first time you put those running shoes on, the first time you go, it's going to suck. But over time, and you're going to start to crave that because the endorphins, again, I've said this before, my favorite movies is Legally Blonde. When this woman's being tried for unaliving her husband, and she's a workout star, and Elle, the girl is like, exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. Happy people don't unalive their husbands, right? It shifts your brain mechanism when your body is actually able, you are given, I tell this to my students all the time, regardless of where you are in your physical fitness, you have all the same muscles that I have. You have the same lungs. We all have the same bodies. I'm just at chapter 10. So your body is able to do this. You just got to be patient with it and find that grit. I mean, you're not, and I was thinking about this too, Catherine, as we were talking, you know, especially in relationships, you know, like when you've been in a relationship with a person for a really long time, you get really comfortable with that person,
Yeah.
and sometimes we let ourselves go, and that's something that I really don't ever want to do. I want to always make sure that I am being as presentable as I can to my partner because he deserves that, but it's not necessarily about me making sure I look good for him. It's that when I feel good in my body, I look good for him. Does that
Mm,
make sense? It's about you,
absolutely.
your body, that you're sexy, that your body is at its high, it's at its peak of what it can do.
Because we know that, and particularly us women, hopefully most of us with our friends, we're really kind to each other. So we might say, look, I'm having a bad hair day, or I put on a bit of weight, and normally your friends will encourage you nicely, and that is a really good thing to do. But the important thing is how you are feeling, not what they
Yeah.
think. And I don't mean that nastily. I think we should all be supportive friends, but equally to acknowledge that we know ourselves how we're feeling. We know when we're not feeling optimum. My vet friend Timo always laughs, and he said, look, I don't care what age you are, if you can't escape by running up a tree, you won't get climbing up a tree. There's certain things a human body needs to be able to do. I'm never going to be as agile as a monkey, unfortunately. I'd love to be, but I'm not going to until I've learned how to grow my tail back. But you should be able to squat down properly. It's a big thing that I'm doing in my new routine. You should be able to climb up a tree. You should be able to support your body weight. You
Yeah.
should be able to chop wood. You should be able to bend down to clean your floors. Try it. If you're caught in a hurricane, like loads of people have been, you need to be able to squawk to go to the toilet. And in
Yeah.
most areas of the world, that's completely normal, and they can do that well into, even people who are 100. But you ask most 50-year-olds now to be able to squat down properly, they can't do it. And this is a problem. So we're talking about functional health, because when you do these functional things, you're not just sorting out your muscles and what you look like, you're opening up all your energy channels and allowing emotion, spirit, energy, whatever you want to call it, to flow. So I think this seasonal stress and avoiding putting yourself into a pressure cooker, right? There's a fine balance, isn't there, Bryce, between setting targets and not putting yourself under so much pressure you're setting yourself up to fail.
Absolutely. And I would say, you know, of course, especially for the Americans, like we have Thanksgiving and then Christmas. These are two of our biggest holidays, and they literally come 1 month after the next. And so I understand, like we've got holiday parties, family get-togethers, where obviously there's a strain on the best of us, on what, you know, diets, and you want to be in that celebratory mood. And so I always, for me, you know, for me in this at this time, I make sure I'm doing a little bit more walking, just not just for the calorie burn. That's not why I'm doing it. It's to get my colon moving.
Yeah.
It's to make sure I'm getting my colon to move upside down to help assist my body through this time of year so I can enjoy this time of year. And that's another thing too. It's like, you know, if you are in the Western Hemisphere where this is a huge time for us in Europe and America, Canada, wherever, where this is a huge time of celebration, you know, don't deprive yourself of that joy and experience with your friends because that's part of your culture and your experience. But you could start by like, okay, what's going to help me move through this? What's going to help
Yeah.
me, you know, set myself up so I have better digestion during this time, and that, you know, I always do that whenever we have a holiday come up. I actually have a plan in place to be able to help me because I know now after
Me
19.
too.
Oh my God, I know. I always laugh and say food hangovers are worse for me than alcohol hangovers.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's unavoidable. And so I have a plan in place over how I'm going to be able to ride the wave and enjoy. I mean, this Thanksgiving, it was just my boyfriend and me, and we literally ate Waffle House, which is a chain here. It's one of the best chains ever. It's so bad for you. But we had Waffle House in a hotel while we watched movies in bed. And I
Yeah.
knew, and actually he suffered more than me. That was kind of a funny story. But we knew, and so we were prepped for that. Like, how are we going to be able to enjoy this communion together, eat the hash browns, eat the waffles in bed, which we usually don't eat, and but then also be able to have our body back in balance. And so it's not an all or nothing. It is finding that balance, and it is getting your body moving in a particular way that's going to be able to get the organs to work to their highest potential. And I just think again the most important thing is that you're not doing this to be a supermodel scale. Like I even say, I tell people this all the I haven't weighed myself since I was in my late 20s. I threw my scales away.
Absolutely.
When I go to the doctor, I always say, I turn around, I tell them not to tell me my weight because I realized even at a young age, even though I've always been on the thin side, that I was exhibiting habits that I get from my mother that could have led to disordered.
Mm.
And so I threw the scales away because I feel like, and that was the best thing I ever did because now I rely on how my body feels.
Me too. And it's just so ironic you're saying this because I've literally just had this exact conversation with one of my clients who is amazing. And we're like, look, us girls know if we can fit into our jeans.
Yeah.
We know if we can move how we want to move. So I have no scales in the house. And I'm not going to start doing all these body scans because for me, that would be unhealthy. I don't want to get to the stage. However, for safety, because I'm always walking in the middle of nowhere and I've got my dogs with me and quite often my horses, I do carry my mobile phone with me when I'm out walking, and it has got one of those step sats. But to
Yep.
me, I quite like seeing because I forget how much movement I do just in the day, going backwards and forwards to do the horses and things. So I've upped my steps quite a lot because, like you, I know that I've got quite a few celebratory things coming on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yep. Yeah.
so you can find something if you're a techie and you don't mind some of the high tech stuff. If you like me, I don't weigh myself because I don't find that a healthy habit for myself, and also I don't find it reflective of my health either.
Yeah.
But what I do know is I've got, because I dress up smartly very rarely, and one was last week when we went to a luncheon with my husband. I've got a really nice pair of black trousers, and I do know whether I can get into them comfortably or not. And that for me is a fantastic. And one of my friends has got a beautiful jacket that she wears, and she tends to put on weight in her top half, sort of across here. And she knows exactly when she can move freely in her jacket, her posh Christmas jacket, as she calls it, or not. So whatever it is for you, some people are fine with the weighing and measuring because they are not got those tendencies. So what works for you, do it. And yes, even with the EMF, I can take my phone with me because I've got my really good EMF protector that I know works. So you can always balance these things out for you. But I think this small steps, big impact
Yeah.
is
Oh,
really lovely to approach it. I love what you just said there about the TikTok lady. You
yeah.
just start by walking.
I
Just
mean,
start by
literally,
walking.
it is. I love that small steps, like literally. And I've said this so many times before. Now, I do not compare somebody else's chapter 10 to your chapter 1. This is what Catherine and I do for a living. If you come and work with me in Atlanta, you want your teacher to be at a level of fitness because they're practicing you have a level of trust in that. It's not, you start, even if you've never worked out before a day in your life, start. I know in America we have long driveways. Some people have to drive golf carts to get their mail because it's long. Oh, did I just lose you, Catherine? Oh, here we go. My computer's just not funny. Just start by walking to your mailbox. Like
Mm.
it starts so small. There's a great, what's the movie that just came out? Like Bethany Runs a Marathon or something, and it's actually a pretty dark movie. I can't remember the name of it, but you guys can Google it, and it shows this girl's journey of learning how to run a marathon and everything, how it starts for her. And it's a fictional story, but it's very potent to what's actually happening. You're not doing this for anybody else but for you. You're not doing it to get a man. You're not doing it to get into, yeah, the outfits. Like I tell you something, guys, a secret for me. I hate wearing jeans.
Mm.
I hate them because I hate the way they feel, the button feels in my stomach. And I used to put these jeans on all the time because I thought that's what I had to do. And finally I just said, fuck it. And I have other nice pants I wear when I have to wear nice pants, but I just, because that's not how I don't feel when I don't feel comfortable, I'm not going to be at my best state. It's funny, Catherine, I'm going with my niece, my oldest niece, who's a gymnast, as like you. I'm going with her on Saturday to see Cirque du Soleil. And I'm like, oh, I gotta go through my clothes to find something actually appropriate to wear. But it's yeah, you do have those things that help you. And as women and men, I'm sure too, you feel it
Yeah,
in your
you do feel it.
when you don't need the scales. And I'm the type of person that will literally, if I get on the scales and it says I'm 110 pounds, I'm the type of person that would be like, I wonder if I can get to 108. I wonder
Yeah.
if I can. So that's where my mind. So that's why it's not healthy for me to have the scales around. So
And with all
yeah,
of these things we're talking about, we're using weight as an example. It's just an example. For you, your thing of what you want to change, starting as soon as possible, as soon as you've decided what your why and what it is, It might be your finances. It might be, Bryce and I are both really passionate about people having a side hustle, if you want to
Yeah.
call it that, or not putting all your financial eggs in one basket. It might be learning about crypto. It might be how you're going to make more time having fun with your friends, or start a new hobby, or change your career. And when we're talking about the power of starting now, don't think it's just related to health. That's just one aspect. But one thing I do want to sort of say is health is almost cumulative and a catalyst for every other aspect of your life.
Yes. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
It's really, really important, because this is going to affect how you manage stress. It's going to affect your mental clarity. It's going to affect your sense of overwhelm. So say you want to change your career. If you're feeling really unhealthy in yourself, nothing to do with your weight, if you're not feeling in really good health, you're not going to have that energy to have the commitment to make a major change in your life, probably. So health is one of the things I think that sort of is almost like the circle of the spider
Yeah.
diagram that everything else comes off of. So you might be one of the people watching, and we do generally have a really healthy audience. You might not need to make drastic changes, and in which case what you want to start now for making sure that 2025 is the real year that you want to create, not because if we're not creating for ourselves, someone else is creating for us.
Absolutely. And again, I love because that is the nucleus of everything. That's the magic, right? When you have your energies flowing properly in your body, you have the clarity, I mean, that helps in YouTube world that working out, being healthy helps me be creative. It helps me, it's going to lend itself to so many and absolutely, even if like, let's say you want to be more social. Well, if you want to be a more social person, like don't all of a sudden go to raves every night. Maybe just try and go out and get coffee once a week with a friend and slowly start to go into it. It can't be an overnight. It's going to shock your system and it's probably going to backfire on you. And that's it. Just do it for you. Like, don't do it for anybody else. Don't do listen for relationships wise. Even though I say I like to look good for my boyfriend, because I love him. But I know that in committed relationships, I mean, Catherine, you've had children. There are, and your husband loves you. Like even when you were having a child, like there's different relationships that we have with our body. And also, with that being said, don't. It's so funny. Last night I was laying there in bed, and for some reason, I think I was thinking about clothes to wear to the Cirque du Soleil, and I got started thinking about sizing. And I know we do sizing different in the United States and the UK, but I'm about a size 4. 2 to 4. But when I was in my like early 20s, I was like a 0. Like I wore the smallest size you could. And I was thinking about that like the days I lived in LA when I was like 22, 23, 24, and I wore this. I was so skinny and my stomach was so flat, and I wore these zeros, and I was laughing. I was like, there's no way in hell if I could find some of those pants out. There's no way in hell I could put those on now. But I'm also 41 now.
Yeah.
So there's different stages of our body that we have to accept. So if you are in your 30s or 40s, I see all these women that try to get back into the dresses they wore to prom. Well, why would you want to do that? You were
Mm,
16 then, right? You were still a child then.
mm.
You don't want to, you're not a child anymore. You're a woman. And so, and again, I think it kind of goes to throwing the scales out because you want your body to be its healthiest at where it is at its stage of life.
Yeah.
I think I look better now that I wear between a size 2 and 4, even though I was laughing at those days. I probably look better now than I did then.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And that's the thing, is you want to be, it's far too much pressure for people to look younger than they are, and there's
Yeah.
no need for it. It's a really interesting one, and one I think we should have some more chats on and get some audience participation in.
Yeah.
One of the things I really wanted to really come across is how can they set that one priority and decide what they're going to focus on? What would your advice be there?
I would go back to you. You need to have a good, quiet, long sit with yourself and figure out where you want to start. Let's just take it back to health and weight loss. I feel like that's the easiest one because that kind of, let's say like you're like maybe 20 pounds overweight or something, or, do I start an exercise program first or with food first? I think you need to figure out what it is you want out of the change. Like, what is it you're really looking for? I kind of am in both camps. I've heard Jillian Michaels say that really weight loss is going to come from exercise for the most part because of the upping of the calorie burn. However, if you're looking for vitality, it might come from changing your diet first and start with that one thing first. That one thing. I mean, Catherine, you and I did a huge episode like a few years ago about Kellogg's
Oh, yeah.
and the breakfast and how growing up for me, it was healthy to
Oh,
have
and here, yeah. We were completely told that was healthy.
cereal. But that's not, and now I know as a vegetarian, I do eat a lot of eggs. I know there's some vegetarians who don't eat eggs, but eggs really work for me. And that's
Mm.
usually what I have for breakfast is
Hmm.
I'll have an omelet or I'll have egg in the holes. I think they're called different things elsewhere, but bread, and that is actually having that for me. And that might be the change you make is like, how do you just take one meal.
Yeah,
How do you alter that one meal to set you up? I would say start with breakfast because that's the first meal of the day.
yeah.
It sets you up for your day. Are you still under the delusion that eating cereal with milk is, and maybe do some research and maybe try having an omelet or
Try
or
things and let them work out for you. That's such a good idea. I mean, we say, so the health world that I come from, you cannot exercise your way out of a bad diet. You just can't.
and that's the second camp that I kind of come from too, is
Yeah,
that
and
we're all
but
going
it doesn't
to
matter where you start because we all have different priorities. Say your priority is you really want to run a 10K race, which for me would be a big goal because I'm not a runner at all. I prefer jumping on the horse. So for me, running 10K would be a big goal for me. In lockdown, I did the 5K challenge with my neighbour, and it was hysterical because we picked the least hilly routes going. We actually put effort into avoiding hills, which I will admit to. But different people have different goals. So if your goal is a certain fitness challenge, then you might want to start there, and you will find your choices, your diet choices will change
yeah,
naturally.
absolutely.
If your goal is for other areas, you might start in the kitchen, or you might start with your evening routine. You see, actually getting your evening routine is a bit like the whole thing we're talking about today. And don't wait, because if you plan the evening, what you're going to have for breakfast the next day, what your schedule's going to look like, because then you'll know what time you need to get up to fit in what you need to do, perhaps before work or before school, if you're taking kids to school and things. So there's all these different tips that you can really set yourself up for success. And what I would say is just think about it now. Please, please don't wait to the new year. If you wait to the new year, you'll feel so much pressure on yourself. You really will. Don't procrastinate. Sit there and over the next sort of couple of days, really sit there with yourself, get a journal out, get a rough bit of paper out and think, look, if I'm being honest, just me to me, I'm not going to tell anyone else. You don't need to share it with anyone. If I'm being really honest with myself, what areas of my life am I not happy with? Jot them down and then look at that and say, what is my biggest win? Just pick one of them, pick one and start there.
Oh, 100%. I love you. We say that in Ashtanga too. Your morning practice starts the evening before.
Yeah,
It might just be pulling out your workout clothes and putting them on the dresser.
exactly.
So that motivates you. You've already started the practice. Your mind is already committed because you put that sports bra and those spandex, you put that right there. That does start. And another thing too is like I don't fast, but what I do to rest my digestive system is I don't eat typically about past 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so that
Yeah.
I have a longer break. And so that clears out my stomach so that I am feeling actually more energetic in the morning and not bogged down. There's these tiny little things another thing too, Catherine, I would say, I know I've dealt with this a few, from the 80s and the 90s, people were taught that cardio was how
Oh,
you
yeah.
lost weight. That's not, we can have a whole conversation around cortisol levels and the calorie burn. Well, actually, so are you under that impression that you have to go for a run to lose weight? Well, actually, there's anaerobic work as well, and that's
Yeah.
actually more sustainable. So maybe start to challenge your own thoughts around the process, and you might surprise yourself, and it might be fun for you to explore these new possibilities.
You can lose loads of weight just by stretching because it will
Yep,
clear out all your eliminative organs, all your meridians and everything. There's some
yep.
amazing stretches I'm going to be sharing next year that will really, really help with this. So there's so many different ways. Sorry, Pumpkin, I'm going to say there's lots of different ways to skin a cat, but I don't mean that. He knows I don't mean it. But anyway, I really hope everyone's found this useful. I cannot encourage you enough to do this exercise for yourself sooner rather than later. because this is the start of it, you know, where we've got all the big changes coming in America in January. We don't want to wait for RFK to sort it out for us. That's not going to happen. He's busy sorting himself out. He's not a fat blob now doing it. He's kept himself up throughout all this. And I'm only, you know, not everyone will resonate with him. That's fine. I'm just using an example that we can all picture in our minds, regardless of what country we're in. Most people can picture him.
Yeah.
So whatever it is for you, could be any area of your life, but this is such a fun thing to do for yourself. And imagine if each and every one of us did this, how much we're going to start shifting things. And that's
that's the thing, right? You shift yourself, you shift the world, the man in the mirror, Michael Jackson. Actually, I want to say, if you don't mind, Catherine, next week when we're back on my channel, I'm having so much fun having this conversation because, you know, besides snooping on dead people through research, this is my other favorite topic because it is so fun and there's something very spiritual about it. I want to ask our audience, if you don't mind, Catherine, if they have any questions, or if there's, and I'm thinking like cortisol, like there's anything they want us to talk about next week, that I would totally love to continue this conversation next week, answering you guys' questions.
Brilliant.
You know, I'll tell you one thing, an exercise that I've been dying to try, is strip aerobics. I want to try. Have you ever heard of this? Do you guys have this?
Never heard of it. I don't. I'm British. Do I know a person who do strip aerobics?
I don't think my mother will be coming with me.
In fact, that actually sends my cortisol levels, just the thought of it. Yeah, is it
Yeah,
literally?
they have exercise classes. You don't wear like you wear exercise clothes, but you bring your high heels, and they teach you how to.
Oh, I thought you meant naked aerobics.
No. Strip like a stripper, like. Oh God, no. I that's only for my boyfriend. I'm pretty open-minded to a lot of things, but I will never be naked on camera. No. That's too sacred for me. But that's why I'll never be in an open relationship. It's too sacred for me. But just it's workout class, and they it's a class, and you wear high heels, you bring your high heels, and they teach you how to, and the people who do it, they say it's such an amazing core exercise.
Wow.
And I just think it would be fun. Like I have a really great
that would be fun, because I can't even walk in high heels, because I spend the whole time in my barefoot shoes or my wellies, so I can't even walk in high shoes. So I think I need that. I'll look it up.
I just don't. I mean, I don't think it's something I would do like my practice, like what I do. It's for fun, and it's an exercise. And sometimes too, one thing about exercise is if you're used to doing a particular exercise all the time, if you change it up, it will shock the body, and you'll drop swelling, because the body all of a sudden having to work in a different way, right? We can talk more about that next week too, guys, because there's so much to this, and it's so fun, and just you have fun with yourself, and it's fun. Like, don't see yourself as changing, as depriving yourself. See it as you discovering new parts of yourself.
Yeah. Love it. So let us know in the comments below. One, if you've got any questions or areas you want us to cover over the next few weeks. Next week, we will be on Esoteric Atlanta, so come and join us there. As usual, all the links are in the description box below. And if anyone feels like they want to share what they're going to be working on, we'd love it. But equally, there's no obligation to do that. Even if you just share that you've picked something and you don't have to publicly declare what it is, then that would be really, really helpful for people. You know, have you picked a target that you're going to start working on this December? Start the process. Let us know in the comments below.
And I think too, on top of that, we should have maybe a fundraiser soon to either fly me to London or Catherine to Atlanta, so we can film us taking a strip aerobics class together.
Hysterical. It would be like absolutely fabulous with me doing it.
I think I would be laughing hard the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. It would be hysterical. Yeah. All right, thanks everyone so much. I can't wait to hear just even yes, I've started, or goal set, or something like that in the comments below. Let us know. Let's all motivate each other. Thanks then.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. This helps us spread the word, and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. And above all, stay curious and stay free.